Hi friends, and welcome to Book a Day for Little Learners. Friends, today we're going to start our series on Dr. Seuss books with Horton Hatches the Egg. I'm going to try and get every single one of Dr. Seuss's books and put them under our Dr. Seuss playlist. I do also have some of his books that were written under his name, Theo Geisel. Those books are actually books that he wrote, but he didn't illustrate. They were illustrated by someone else, and that's why they're not the Dr. Seuss books. Friends, if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy you're back. If you're new to a channel, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. We're going to do a new story every single day, and at the end of this video, I will show you the story we're going to do tomorrow, so I hope you stick with me. Sighed Maisie, a lazy bird hatching an egg. I'm tired and I'm bored and I've kinks in my leg from just sitting here every day after day. It's work, how I hate it. I'd much rather play. I'd take a vacation, fly off for a rest, if I could find someone to stay on my nest. If I could find someone, I'd fly away, free. Then Horton the elephant passed by her tree. Hello, called the lazy bird, smiling her best. You've nothing to do, and I do need a rest. Would you like to sit on the egg in my nest? The elephant laughed. Why, of all silly things, I haven't feathers and I haven't wings. Me on your egg? Why, that doesn't make sense. Your egg is so small, ma'am, and I'm so immense. Immense means very, very large. Tut, tut, answered Maisie. I know you're not small, but I'm sure you can do it. No trouble at all. Just sit on it softly. You're gentle and kind. Come, be a good fellow. I know you won't mind. I can't, said the elephant. Please, begged the bird. I won't be gone long, sir. I give you my word. I'll hurry right back. Well, I'll never be missed. Very well, said the elephant, since you insist. You want a vacation? Go fly off and take it. I'll sit on your egg and I'll try not to break it. I'll stay and be faithful. I mean what I say. To-do, sang out Maisie and fluttered away. Friends, where do you think Maisie is going to go? Do you think she's going to go get food? The first thing to do, murmured Horton. Let's see. The first thing to do is to prop up this tree and make it much stronger. That has to be done. Before I get on it, I must weigh a ton. Friends, what would happen if Horton got on that tree? Yeah, I think so too. I think he would break it. Then carefully, tenderly, gently, he crept up the trunk to the nest where the little egg slept. Friends, it looks like there's only one bird egg. Frequently, there are more bird eggs. There are usually 2, 3, or 4. Then Horton the elephant smiled. Now that's that. And he sat, and he sat, and he sat. Horton was being very helpful, wasn't he? And he sat all that day, and he kept the egg warm, and he sat all that night through a terrible storm. It poured and it lightened, it thundered, it rumbled. This isn't much fun, the poor elephant grumbled. I wish she'd come back because I'm cold and I'm wet. I hope that Maisie bird doesn't forget. He looks uncomfortable, doesn't he, friends? But Maisie by this time was far beyond reach, enjoying the sunshine way off in Palm Beach. Palm Beach is a city in Florida. And having such fun, such a wonderful rest, decided she'd never go back to her nest. Friends, she needs to go back, doesn't she? So Horton kept sitting there day after day, and soon it was autumn. The leaves blew away, and then came the winter, the snow and the sleet. Ooh, and icicles hung from his trunk and his feet. But Horton kept sitting and said with a sneeze, I'll stay on this egg and I won't let it freeze. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Look how uncomfortable Horton is. Friends, the egg would have hatched by this time. Eggs don't live through the winter months in freezing rain and snow. So poor Horton sat there the whole winter through, and then came the springtime with troubles anew. His friends gathered round, and they shouted with glee. Glee means they were happy. "Look, Horton the elephant's up in a tree!" They taunted, they teased, and they yelled, "How absurd! Old Horton the elephant thinks he's a bird." Friends, does Horton think he's a bird? No, he's trying to help the egg in the nest. There he is back there. They laughed and they laughed, then they all ran away, and Horton was lonely. He wanted to play, but he sat on the egg and continued to say, "I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Friends, next time that comes up, you say it with me, okay? No matter what happens, this egg must be tended. It means he knows he has to take care of it. But poor Horton's troubles were far, far from ended. For while Horton sat there, so faithful and kind, 3 hunters came sneaking up softly behind. Ugh, friends. The hunters are hunting Horton. And he's just sitting there taking care of the egg. He heard the men's footsteps. He turned with a start. That means he turned quickly. 3 rifles were aiming right straight at his heart. Oh! Friends, I'm scared for Horton. I don't want anything bad to happen to Horton. Did he run? He did not. Horton stayed on that nest. He held his head high and he threw out his chest and he looked at the hunters as much as to say, "Shoot if you must, but I won't run away. I meant what I said and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Friends, he's still not going to run away even though his life is in danger. That is very brave of Horton. But the men didn't shoot. Much to Horton's surprise, they dropped their 3 guns. "Look," they all shouted. "Can such a thing be? An elephant sitting on top of a tree?" They're surprised, aren't they? "It's strange, it's amazing, it's wonderful, new." "Don't shoot him, we'll catch him. That's just what we'll do. Let's take him alive. Why, he's terribly funny. We'll sell him back home to a circus for money." They want to put the elephant sitting on a tree in a circus. And the first thing he knew, they had built a big wagon with ropes on the front for the pullers to drag on. They dug up his tree and they put it inside, with Horton so sad that he practically cried. Oh, poor Horton. "We're off," the men shouted, and off they all went, with Horton unhappy 100%. Friends, although they didn't kill Horton, they are still capturing Horton and taking him away from his home. Up out of the jungle, up into the sky, up over the mountains, 10,000 feet high. Then down, down the mountains and down to the sea went the cart with the elephant, egg, nest, and tree. That's a long journey. Then out of the wagon and onto a ship, out over the ocean, and ooh, what a trip. Rolling and tossing and splashed with the spray, and Horton said day after day after day, "I meant what I said, but oh, I'm so seasick, 100%. Look at his face, you can tell he doesn't feel well. This does not look like a good experience for Horton at all. After bobbing around for 2 weeks like a cork, that means they were in the ocean for 2 weeks and the boat in the water kind of was going up and down like a piece of cork in the water, they landed at last in the town of New York. "All ashore," the men shouted, and down with a lurch went Horton the elephant, still on his perch. Tied onto a board that could just scarcely hold him, boom, Horton landed, and then the men sold him. There they go. Sold to, friends, do you remember where the hunters wanted to sell him? To a circus. They showed him to people at 10 cents a peek. So if you paid a dime or 10 cents, you could go and see Horton sitting on this tree. They took him to Boston, to Kalamazoo, Chicago, Weehawken, and Washington too. To Dayton, Ohio, St. Paul, Minnesota, to Wichita, Kansas, to Drake, North Dakota. And everywhere thousands of folks flocked to see and laugh at the elephant up in a tree. That makes me sad for Horton. Poor Horton grew sadder the farther he went, but he said as he sat in the hot, noisy tent, "Ready, friends? I meant what I said, and I said what I meant. An elephant's faithful 100%. Friends, do you think something's going to happen to change Horton's situation? Is he just going to live out his days on the tree, sitting on the egg? Let's find out. Then, one day, the circus show happened to reach a town way down south, not so far from Palm Beach. Remember, that's where the mama bird went. And dawdling along way up high in the sky, who, of all people, should chance to fly by, but that good-for-nothing bird, runaway Maisie, still on vacation and still just as lazy. And spying the flags and the tents just below, she sang out, "Oh, what fun, while I'll just go to the show." Do you think she'll be surprised when she sees Horton? Maybe she won't even see him. And she swooped from the clouds through an open tent door. "Good gracious!" gasped Maisie. "I've seen you before." Poor Horton looked up with his face as white as chalk. He started to speak, but before he could talk, so there he is, still on the tree, still with the egg. White as chalk means there's chalk for a chalkboard, and his face was that white. Sometimes they say white as a sheet, like a white bed sheet. There rang out the noisiest, ear-splitting squeaks from the egg that he'd sat on for 51 weeks. Friends, that's 1 week short of an entire year. A thumping, a bumping, a wild, alive scratching. "My egg!" shouted Horton. "My egg! Why, it's hatching!" I think Dr. Seuss's rendition of this, the visual on this, is very exciting, showing the egg hatching. Let's see what comes out of it. "But it's mine!" screamed the bird when she heard the egg crack. The work was all done, so now she wanted it back. "It's my egg," she sputtered. "You stole it from me. Get off of my nest and get out of my tree." Oh, poor Horton backed down with a sad, heavy heart. Poor Horton did all the work. He sat on that egg for 51 weeks while she was out vacationing. But at that very instant, the egg burst apart. And out of the pieces of red and white shell from the egg that he'd sat on so long and so well, Horton the elephant saw something whiz. It had ears and a tail and a trunk just like his. Friends, look how happy Horton is. Look how shocked the bird is. And look how cute whatever hatched is. Adorable. And the people came shouting, "What's all this about?" They looked and they stared with their eyes popping out. Then they cheered and they cheered and they cheered more and more. They'd never seen anything like it before. "My goodness, my gracious," they shouted. "My word, it's something brand new. It's an elephant bird." And it should be. It should be. It should be like that, because Horton was faithful. He sat and he sat. He meant what he said, and he said what he meant. And they sent him home happy 100%. Aww. It's always nice when a story ends well, right? Because the main character in the story was Horton, who was asked by Maisie, the lazy bird, to watch over her egg. And Horton sat on that egg through all different kinds of weather conditions for 51 weeks. And then hunters came to get Horton because he was sitting on the tree, and that was so unusual. And they took Horton all over the United States to kind of show him off. And Horton didn't have any say in that, whether Horton liked it or didn't like it. And then the Maisie came back, and she wanted her egg back only because it hatched and it was something unusual. But Horton had done all the work. So I'm happy that Horton was able to have a flying elephant, and that Horton, because we know Horton will take good care of that flying elephant, don't we? That's what I think. I think he will. Friends, I hope you enjoyed Horton Hatches the Egg. Are you excited about tomorrow's story? Okay, if you haven't already, please click the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. For my subscribers, go ahead and hit the bell. That will alert you to every time I upload a new video, and there's at least one every single day. All right, you have very patiently made it through. The story tomorrow is a follow-up to Horton Hatches the Egg, and it is Horton Hears a Who. All right, friends, I'll see you tomorrow for this story.